Are you ready to unlock the door to doing business in Massachusetts? Before you can, there's one important step you need to take: applying for a sales tax permit. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to completely demystify the Massachusetts sales tax registration process from start to finish.
Stick with us and we'll walk you through exactly how to get it done. Whether you're a local entrepreneur opening up a brick-and-mortar boutique right in the heart of Boston, or you're running a remote online craft store shipping goods all the way from Ohio, we're going to transform what might seem like a daunting bureaucratic chore into a really simple, actionable journey. And trust me, you absolutely want to get this right. Getting this wrong, or just ignoring it altogether, can result in some hefty penalties, back taxes, and a massive headache that your growing business just doesn't need. So, here's our roadmap for today. First, the sales tax permit basics. Second, do you need a permit? Third, preparing your required documents. Fourth, navigating Mass Tax Connect step by step. And finally, submission and what to expect. Let's dive right in. Section 1. The sales tax permit basics. Understanding the statewide rate and requirements. Before we jump into the paperwork, let's set the stage. A sales tax permit basically gives you the legal authority to collect sales tax on behalf of the state. And here is where you can breathe a massive sigh of relief. Massachusetts currently has a uniform statewide sales tax rate of 6.25%. This applies to retail sales of tangible personal property, telecommunication services, and even software as a service, or SaaS. Now, unlike some states that have an absolute nightmare of overlapping county, city, and local district rates that you have to calculate, Massachusetts keeps it incredibly simple. There are 0 local taxes to complicate your math. It's just a flat 6.25% across the entire Commonwealth. Moving right along to Section 2. Do you need a permit? Determining your eligibility and nexus. Before you even try to create a government account, we have to figure out if your business actually triggers the state's requirements. We hear this question all the time. Do I actually need a permit to sell to customers in Massachusetts? Well, the answer depends entirely on whether your business has established what the state calls a nexus. Think of a nexus as a legal connection or a footprint in the state that gives Massachusetts the legal authority to require you to collect tax. If you don't have nexus, you generally don't need a permit, but if you do, it is completely mandatory. There are 2 main paths to crossing that line: physical nexus and economic nexus. Think of physical nexus as having literal boots on the ground, like our hypothetical local entrepreneur opening a shop in Boston. If you have a storefront, an office, employees, or honestly even just inventory stored in a Massachusetts warehouse, you have physical nexus. Economic nexus, on the flip side, is for out-of-state, remote sellers, like that Ohio-based online store we mentioned earlier. They don't have a physical footprint in Massachusetts, but if they do a significant amount of business with residents there, they trigger economic nexus. So if you're a remote seller, this is your magic number: $100,000. Massachusetts law requires you to register and collect sales tax if your gross sales delivered into the state exceed $100,000 in the current or prior calendar year. And here's a really key insight. Unlike some other states that look at how many individual orders you processed, Massachusetts actually got rid of their transaction count threshold. It doesn't matter if you made 1,000 tiny sales or 10 massive ones. Your eligibility is based entirely on that dollar amount. Now, calculating that $100,000, that's where a lot of folks trip up. Look at this breakdown because the nuance here is crucial. Even tax-exempt sales, like selling clothing items priced under $175, or wholesale transactions actually count toward your gross sales threshold. You have to add all of that up to see if you cross the line. However, there's one major exception. Sales made through a marketplace facilitator, think Amazon, Etsy, or eBay, where the platform legally collects the tax for you. Those do not count toward your individual threshold in Massachusetts. All right, Section 3, preparing your required documents, the pre-registration checklist. If you've determined that you do have Nexus, gathering your documents beforehand is going to save you from frustrating administrative delays or portal timeouts. You need this exact checklist ready to go. You can't register without your federal employer identification number or your social security number if you're a sole proprietor. Have your verified business addresses and the personal profiles of your responsible corporate officers handy. Pay special attention to figuring out your 6-digit NAICS industry code that categorizes your business type. Also, you need a realistic estimate of your monthly taxable sales. Why? Because this tells the state exactly how often you have to file your returns. And please, don't forget your ACH banking details. Massachusetts requires you to set up a way to remit the taxes electronically right out of the gate. Which brings us to Section 4, navigating Mass Tax Connect step by step, the application process.
With our documents securely in hand, it's time to actually execute the application. Massachusetts doesn't accept paper forms anymore. Everything happens seamlessly on the Department of Revenue's digital portal known as MassTax Connect. By following the flow on their site, you can breeze through this in about 15 to 20 minutes. You start by clicking Sign Up or Register a New Business. Next, you input your organizational data and your EIN. Then, add those business and banking addresses we just talked about. Now, step 4 is absolutely critical. Make sure you explicitly select Sales and Use Tax from the tax type menu. There are a ton of different taxes managed on this portal, so you want to be sure you're applying for the right one. Finally, you input those sales estimates, submit the form, and set up mandatory two-factor authentication for security. And the absolute best part about this whole process? There is zero fee to register. It's completely free. Finally, Section 5, Submission and What to Expect, Timelines and Final Compliance. So, you've confidently hit Submit. The application is officially in the state system. But what happens next? When can you legally start collecting tax? Well, upon submission on day 1, you actually get immediate temporary online access to your account. This is fantastic news because it means you can start collecting that 6.25% tax right away without missing a beat. The Department of Revenue generally takes about 3 to 5 days to process everything on the back end. Following that, your official physical certificate, legally known as Form ST1, will show up in your mailbox about a week or so later. Once you have your permit, the real work begins. First things first, you must physically post your Form ST1 somewhere visible at your business location. Then, obviously, collect the tax and remit it based on the schedule assigned to you during registration. That could be monthly, quarterly, or annually, depending entirely on your volume. But listen closely because this is a massive tip to maintain your compliance. You have to file those returns on time, even if you had absolutely zero sales during that specific reporting period. I'm going to say that one more time because it's so important. File your return even if you made $0. Skipping a zero return will automatically flag your account and potentially lead to completely avoidable penalties. As we wrap up, I need to leave you with a quick disclaimer. This explainer is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal or financial advice. Please consult with a professional for specifics related to your business. But I also want to leave you with a final thought. Now that you have the complete roadmap, you understand the exact legal thresholds, and you have the step-by-step registration guide, what's stopping you from expanding your business into Massachusetts today?